Hi everyone. I did my research paper on twice exceptional students and then decided to name it Contributing to Twice Exceptional Student Success. So we talked a little bit about twice exceptional in one of our classes, but I found some really good stuff online and really gained a better understanding of it. So I'm going to be that person and read this quote to you off the slide. But what is twice exceptional? The term twice exceptional was coined to describe students who have a disability and who also have characteristics and traits associated with giftedness. Recognizing these students may be challenging as either their disability may shadow their gift or their gift may mask the effect of their disability. So, when servicing twice exceptional students, like I'm referring to, I thought it was really interesting in that last quote how a disability may shadow their gift or vice versa. Their gift may mask that disability. So it's really important that disabilities are supported with accommodations and then enrichment opportunities are available to enhance a student's giftedness. And then when these students have IEPs, it's important that both the accommodations and the enhancements or the enrichment opportunities are stated in the IEP just to make sure that they are receiving the most individualized support. I read about teacher expectations and how those can affect twice exceptional students. I read one really interesting case study involving a teacher that actually had low expectations for one of her students and how that affected him. And this was done by Missette, Azano, Callahan, and Landrum. And this classroom teacher actually ended up focusing on her students' weaknesses rather than his strengths. And that in turn led to her lower expectations. She even didn't include him in certain things because she didn't think he would be able to do it. So she removed him from learning opportunities that he definitely could have participated in. And then in contrast to that, I read another study by Wang and Neihart that studied 6 different twice exceptional students, and they referred to external supports, teachers, families, peers, and they talked about how having those high expectations from those people contributed to their positive self-concept and their ability to want to learn and their motivation, and then in turn their success as twice exceptional students. Another thing I found in the research was some effective learning strategies. There were lists, like longer lists of these things. And so the accommodations for disabilities were like any other things that we see like on student IEPs or when we discuss students who have a learning disability. For example, allowing extra time, using different ways to instruct, using adaptive technology, and providing clear expectations. So supporting disabilities doesn't change even though a student is twice exceptional. And then it's also important to enhance their giftedness. These were some of the strategies that they referred to, emphasizing creative thinking, providing open-ended challenges, allowing different pathways for learning, and then providing in-depth explorations. And I know I've talked to a few of you, and this feels like something that should happen for all students. So sometimes I kind of laugh at the fact that that's only brought up around gifted students, but there it is. This is part of, so moving on now to my next part was, how can teachers apply this in their classroom? Like, what's the message to educators? And so the first part was being able to identify twice exceptional students. This is just part of a table that was in one of my articles that I found super interesting. So they were indicating different skills that the student might have. And then they talked about what a typical gifted student might look like in those areas. So I referenced the verbal skills in my paper, and a characteristic of a gifted student and their verbal skills is they exhibit a high verbal ability. But then thinking about how that might affect a twice exceptional student, so a gifted student but also with a disability, that might be different for them. They may demonstrate that verbal ability, but then they also have a really hard time like transferring that to writing. So that was really interesting. And this table is like 2 pages worth of indicators and then how they can differ between gifted students and then also twice exceptional students. So for teachers to be successful with twice exceptional students, like I said, they would need to have an understanding of those common characteristics to be able to help identify twice exceptional, because it is really underserved and under-identified. But I read that there's like an estimate that approximately 360,000 students that are being served for disabilities are also academically gifted. So those kids that we already know to be on IEPs or we already know to have 504s, a large percentage of them is not a large, but a large number of them are considered gifted and we just don't know it. So when working with these twice exceptional students, it's important to also treat them as individuals, just like every other kiddo. Support, again, like I said, both their disability and their giftedness. And then something that came up in the research a lot was to make sure to really play to or enhance the student's strengths, and that really helps them to be motivated and believe in themselves if you are really focused on their strengths instead of their weaknesses, And those are my references, and I hope you learned a little bit more about twice exceptional kiddos.